All right, so we're going to try a word problem here. We've got a place called Cody's Bikes, and we're renting them. So the rental essentially consists of two parts. Okay, so we got to read this very carefully. Our rental basically costs us $18, and then on top of that, so plus an additional $5 per hour. Okay. So we've got our two parts here are the fact that whether no matter how long we ride our bike, it's going to cost us $18, right? And then every hour, so per hour, we're going to have to pay an additional $5, right? So what we need to be able to do is create an equation out of that. So to create an equation out of that, what we essentially recognize is that we talked about this yesterday. If you see the words per, that's where you're multiplying by your variable, okay? So essentially that $5 per hour means that per hour, we can use h for hour. So our variable can be h for hour. And per hour is it's $5 per hour. So we do 5 times h, and that's our rental cost per hour. But like I said earlier, we have that additional $18 that we have to spend no matter what. So that's the beginning of our equation. Not quite an equation yet. So the last piece is, well, what is this going to be equal to? And that brings us back up to the question where it says, well, if we're paid a total, right, a total of $48 to rent a bike. So that's what we set our equation equal to. And now we have our equation ready to go to solve. So if we solve this, we talk about what we talked about previously, doing the opposite to undo or doing the opposite to solve. So we start with addition and we have plus 18 here. So the opposite of adding 18 is subtracting 18. So we're going to subtract 18 here. And since we did it to the left-hand side of the equation, we have to do it to the right-hand side of the equation. All right, keep everything balanced. So once we subtract 18, the 18s cancel out, which is great. We're left with simply 5h. And on the right-hand side, 48 minus 18, definitely try to do that without a calculator. 48 minus 8, 48 minus 8 would be 40. Take away 10 more, 30. Okay? Now, last but not least, remember we talked about the fact that this is an invisible multiplication sign. You've got to identify what you see, because if you don't identify what you see, you won't know what to do to undo it. Opposite of multiplication. We see multiplication, so to undo that, we divide. Opposite of multiplication is division. We're going to divide by that 5 in order to get the h alone. So the 5's now cancel out, and we're left with h equals 30 divided by 5 is 6. So now you're tempted to probably just circle that and say, great, h equals 6. But let's really think about what we're doing. The question was, if we go back to our word problem, the question was, how many hours did he rent the bike? So we really always want to answer a word problem using words. Novel idea there, right? So 6 hours is our final answer because we always want to answer a word problem using words. Okay? So take a second, kind of think that one over again. If you need to, practice with a neighbor. Try this one. Mark's won some lollipops. So try this one on your own with a friend. Work together for a second. Press pause here and see if you can create an equation before I show you what it looks like. All right, so let's see. We've got 79 lollipops. We're playing hoops, I guess, at a school game night. We've won 79 lollipops. Later, he's gonna give 3 to each of his friends. That's a key word there. Each of his friends. So that's 3 per. Like I said earlier, 3 per friend. And then he only has he only has 4 remaining or 4 left over. So once again, we go and we start by identifying the question. How many friends does he have? So that right there is going to be our variable. Our x is going to equal the number of friends. Okay? So really important to identify that variable. Now we go and we say, well, we know that he was giving 3 per friend, right? He gave 3 per friend. He started, right? How many did he start with? He started with 79. And then at the very end of the night, he had 4 left, right? He had 4 left over. Okay? So using that information, we have to create our equation. So our equation ends up being the 3 per friend. All right, the 3 per friend means 3 times x. Since he has x friends, he's giving 3 to each of them. So that's 3 per friend. Okay, the 79 is what we started with. So what we have to be able to do here, so I'm actually going to move this around. Let me see if I can move this. All right, we're going to move this over. Okay, and since we're starting with 79, I'm going to put the 79 in front. We're starting out with 79. That was our total to begin with. And now, if we're giving them away, what operation is giving lollipops away? Hopefully you're thinking, hey, if I'm giving them away, that's subtraction. So we're subtracting 3x from the 79 because we're giving those away. That's reducing our total amount of lollipops. And then at the end of the day, after he's given them away, we're left with our 4 lollipops left over. There you go. We've just created an equation out of our word problem. And this would be something you'd want to solve as well. So to solve it, we would subtract over the 79. So if we subtract over 79, we're left with, this cancels out, negative 3x. Please do not forget that negative there. If you do, it's going to be completely off. So negative 3x. 4 minus 79, that's kind of a challenging problem because it's a negative number as your answer. That's going to leave us with negative 75. Okay? So now we're left here. Once again, our final step is to undo multiplication, and we undo multiplication by dividing. So we're going to divide by negative 3. So when we divide by that negative 3, we're left with x equals, think about that, that's 3. If you have 75 cents, that's 3 quarters. How much money is each quarter worth? Well, each quarter is worth 25 cents. So negative 75 divided by negative 3 gives us positive 25. So last but not least, let's remind ourselves, what does that represent? X represents the number of friends. So this is going to be 25 friends. Okay, folks? So really important that we're practicing and we're feeling good about creating those equations and then solving those equations. So as needed, continue practicing, continue working hard. And if you ever have questions, please come see myself in C305 or Miss Frankie in C304 or Mr. Edwards in C303. Best of luck and keep working hard, guys.